high school, grammar school here in Ridgely, Tennessee. And as all of you are aware that there's going to be some things happening here in the next couple of days that is going to destroy some memories that each one of us have. Here in this school, the school will be torn down very shortly, replaced by some modern facilities. And we've got some memories that we all want to preserve, and we'd like to kind of go through some of the things today, the school and some of the teachers and some of the classrooms that had happened here several years ago. As a matter of fact, there's a classroom that's in process at the present time, and I think that it would be interesting to drop in on one of the classes and see just exactly what happened several years ago. So let's go on into one of the classrooms that we have now. As we enter one of the classrooms that was in process several years ago, first of all, I want to maybe let you take a look around and see some of the students here, and then one of the teachers that we have here setting up, Miss Georgia Macklin. I think she's taught several people in Ridgely and Lake County area. And Miss Georgia, when did you start teaching here in Ridgely?
I didn't start until 1945, but I started to school here in 1912, and I finished in 1924. My class was the last class to graduate from this old building, and I've forgotten our speaker, but it was a long time ago because we graduated in 1924, and there were 13 in the class.
And who was the principal at that time?
Mr. West.
Mr. West. That was quite some time ago. And 13 in the class, that was a pretty good sized class then.
At that time it was, And within 2 years there were 2 members of our class passed away, and then the rest of us up until about, I'll say 2 years ago, they were all living. Now there's 6 of us still living, I believe.
Okay, 6 out of your class. And we have another teacher over here that's been here for quite some time also. Miss Winnie, when was it that your acquaintance became here at the Ridgely High School?
I started school here in 1918, and then later I came back to teach here in 1931-32 school year. I taught the 3rd grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. Later, I was moved to junior high school, and I taught in junior high school.
Okay, and so that was quite some time ago. Did you say that you graduated from this school?
No, I moved to Tiptonville when I was a sophomore, and I graduated there in 1930.
In 1930. Miss Georgia, I know that the years that you've had here, I know that a lot of it you spent probably in this building, then a lot of it in 3rd grade in the new building, the Larry Kendall building, but I know that there's bound to be lots and lots of memories that you had. Can you give us some outstanding thing that might have happened that you can think of right now that might have happened during your teaching career?
Oh, there's been so many memories, and so many good memories and so many bad memories, but I don't know any outstanding. I really don't know of any. I guess when I got my high school diploma, and then I got a letter saying that I was elected to teach in the county school system for 1924 and 1925, and I went to Peck's Mill.
Peck's Mill, that's out in the country. Is that where you started teaching?
That's where I started teaching and taught there until 1928.
You look mighty familiar behind the desk, along with Miss Winnie Mooney Hood here. Miss Winnie, how long did you teach in this school system?
Well, in the Lake County system, probably 35 or 36 years, and I taught 7 years in Williamson County and 1 year at Peabody Demonstration School, so I have a total number of teaching years, probably 45.
Could you give us some kind of reminiscence of a memory that you might have had here in Ridgely being part of the school system?
Well, one thing I remember was I went to school to Miss Lara Kendall, and then I came back here and taught with Miss Lara and was active in having a Lara Kendall Day before Miss Lara retired, and I enjoyed teaching with her, and I taught under some outstanding principals and have enjoyed my work here.
I think, as you mentioned, Miss Lara Kendall really devoted a lot of her life to this school system here in Lake County and Ridgely school system. All right, as you see some of the students there, we're going to move out into the classroom now and maybe let you meet some of the students and let them give some type of memories that they might have had. I believe this is Mr. Gore.
Well, I started here in 1917 in the first grade, and I went all through grammar school and then in high school, graduated in 1930. And there's quite a few memories here. And we were discussing with Pauline back behind me here about our lunch. She and her sister brought lunch every day, and some of the boys would steal that lunch. So Mr. DeBerry called up and stirred up quite a little ruckus about it, and they soon stopped getting their lunch.
That's one way to do it. So she went home and told Mother and Dad, huh?
No, yeah, they told her, their mother and dad, and he called up here and raised up about it, and they quit stealing her lunch.
Could you tell me what year this building was built?
The only knowledge that I have of it, Dr. Alexander, which was one of the people who wanted to have a school here, said it was 1909.
1909. That's been quite some time ago. Did that start with this original building, two-story building?
Yes, two-story building, and we had a stove in this corner here, and in each room, a coal stove that we heated it with at that time. Later on, they put a furnace in the basement and heated the whole thing with that.
This is one of the high spots to keep the water out, too, wasn't it?
Right, the highest place in Lake County, right here. That is, in this end of Lake County. They called it College Hill for a long time.
Oh,
they called this College Hill for a long time. This is the high spot.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gore. And right behind Mr. Gore is a teacher that's taught in this system for quite some time, Miss Pauline Pigg. Miss Pauline, when did you start teaching in Ridgely?
In 1941, in February. I taught 3 months.
3 months, and you went to school here too, right?
I went to school here, yes, sure
When did
did.
you start to school?
When did you start? 19 and 13, I guess. Yeah,
You was a year behind Miss Georgia, and
I graduated in 1925.
What are some of the fondest memories you have in Ridgely School?
Mr. West was my English teacher, and our classroom was just right in there. And so all you have to do is just get started on some kind of a conversation, and it would carry through, until the class would be over. So one day we got him started, I don't remember what it was. So we kept the conversation going, and it wasn't long, of course, time for the bell. And when the bell rang, I said, "Oh, goody, there goes the bell."
You said Mr. West. Now, what Mr. West is that?
Jim West.
Jim West. I don't know Mr. Jim West, but I'm sure that everybody that's probably listening and be monitoring this do know him. Okay, and in the school system, I guess one of the main things that I remember about you, Miss Pauline, is putting the kids under your desk.
My desk. That was my favorite. I learned that from Miss Virginia Lewis, because she was teaching here in the first grade when I came to teach. And that was her favorite way of disciplining the children, when they would keep talking, I remember putting Billy Earl Murphy. He was just, oh boy, that mouth was running 2 miles a time. And so she stuck him under her desk. You've never heard such a scream that he let out, but it stopped his talking.
That was one sure way of doing it, Miss Pauline. All right, and behind Miss Pauline, we'll have Mr. Callens. Mr. Callens, you, I guess, graduated from Ridgely School.
I started in the first grade, I believe, in 1918. And I think it took me 10 years to get through the 8th grade, but I graduated from the 8th grade in the old upstairs auditorium. And as for highlights, every day I went to school, it was a highlight. I didn't have nothing but a ball.
You said in the upstairs auditorium. Where are you talking about there?
The old auditorium upstairs here.
Here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
It's been cut up in classrooms, I think, now.
I think so. What is some of the, you said highlights or fondest memories? You just said everything was some of your fondest memories, huh?
Well, I spent a whole lot of my time fastened up in the coat room out here in the hall. No, I don't think I was ever put under a desk, but I stood in the corner and fastened up in the coat room out in the hall. But I enjoyed all 10 years of it.
Who was one of your favorite teachers while you were in school?
Miss Mattie D. Cox, Miss Adele Shelton. I believe that's all I can remember right now.
Okay, some more fond memories that was demonstrated here in Ridgely. Then one of our other gentlemen is Mr. Raymond White. Mr. White, tell us something about your school background here in Ridgely.
Okay, I didn't go to school in this building. I went over in the other building. I graduated from the big school of Winburg up there, and it started down here in the high school. Well, I was thinking a while ago, back at that time, when we came to school down here, there wasn't an automobile on the campus. And now I guess there's 35 or 40 here every day. And when in the school buses, you walked or caught a ride. And it was, I guess, is the best thing for us.
Who was some of your favorite teachers that was teaching here when you were here?
Well, Miss Ruth Forrester, Miss Codis Willingham, Jim West, Mr. Edwards. That's about all I know right now.
Okay. And some of the things are some of the outstanding things or fondest things that you might remember of that took place while you were in school. What?
Well, when we graduated from the senior class, well, we were going to have a speaker, and the speaker had a wreck, and he never did get here to deliver his address.
Oh, who delivered the address?
We didn't have one.
Okay. All right, and another person that has been in the school system here for quite some time is Miss Zula Callens. And Miss Zula, tell us something about your background here in Ridgely.
We moved here in 1925, and I was in the 8th grade with Smiley Keaton, a teacher. I graduated in 1930, and that was the year Mr. Jim West, that they've been speaking of, left. And I started, well, I finished at Frieda Hardeman, then I didn't start teaching until 46. I started over in the auditorium that we have over in the other building, and Wanda Hart and I in the back with just a beaver board wall between us. And then 2 more teachers were out in the auditorium. And as far as the highlights, I guess was the year I was a senior, we all caught Mr. Willingham out and jumped out the window, and when he came to the room, we were gone. We were at Glady Holler, and it was on the first day of April.
You sound like someone that I'm sure that Mr. Todd could give an example on today. You would probably whip someone if they did that today, wouldn't you?
I guess so, but that was about the only thing we did, and they do things now all the time.
All right, could you maybe tell us maybe something about maybe your favorite year that you even taught here, and some of the things as far as your teaching? I know in school while you were attending you did several things, but maybe something while you were teaching.
My first year in 46, I think Melvin Barnes, that group was my first. And then I came over and taught upstairs here. Marshall Forrester was on the school board, and he came in with the principal, and I was on top of a ladder painting that building. And I don't know, we had at that time I had the overflow. By that, the ones who stayed out to pick cotton. The others went to Miss Georgia, I think, and Miss Winnie. I believe they split a year in there.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Zula. Next, we have Miss Dorothy Arcus. And Miss Dorothy, would you kind of give us some highlights of your being here in the school system?
Well, this was the grammar school when I was here. Well, I think it was 1924. I started in the 1st grade, and then the 8th grade, went through the 8th grade here.
Could you tell us something that might have happened that you can remember that some of those wild things, I guess you might say, that happened while you were in school?
Miss Pauline was talking about Miss Virginia Lewis putting you under the desk and she did me for talking, and I scared me, and I never talked again in school. I never got caught at it, I should say.
Who was the principal when you were here?
Mr. West.
And who was the superintendent?
Mr. Jack Brewer, wasn't he? No, who was? McCain, yeah, Mr. McCain, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Miss Agnes Woods. And you know, there's some might be interested in even in your maiden name, or some of them that they were here. You might, if you want to throw that in, you might. But Miss Agnes, could you give us a brief description of your schooling here?
Well, Dorothy and I were classmates here, and of course that was the first grade over there, and this was the second grade, and Miss Linda Watkins and Miss Mandy Cox taught when I went to school. And I remember very distinctly the first thing that I ever made in school was a 2, and I continued making that 2 all day long. And then, of course, in high school, when Mr. Brewer was our principal in high school, and I'll always remember that I learned geometry because one night he saw us in town, and he said, "What were you doing loafing in town?" So he sent us to the board to explain a geometry problem, and from then on, he sent me for a solid month. So I learned geometry in high school.
You know, I kept making 2s when I was graduating. But that's probably, you said that you and Miss Dorothy were classmates. I guess that's the reason she was kind of pecking you on the shoulder a while ago and bugging her just a little bit. Those memories are always fond to remember. Thank you. Another one of the students and teachers here in Ridgely School System, Miss Beth Beardsley. Miss Beth, could you give us a brief description of your schooling here in Ridgely?
I don't know where to start. I started school here as Beth Argo in 1922, graduated in 1933, and then began teaching in this system in 1939. And I taught in the country to begin with, but you ask about memories. There's so many memories in this building that I couldn't even begin to start with the pleasant ones. The one that sticks with me is my most embarrassing moment in this building. When I was in the first grade in 1922, Mr. West was principal here, and at that time, the auditorium was upstairs, as someone has just said. The senior class that year, and for several years, it was the custom for friends to give bouquets to the girls who were graduating. Well, I was chosen as one of the flower girls from the first grade, and I remember so well that I was just embarrassed to death because I got over Rankin and Janice Hardson mixed up and gave Ora Janice's flowers and Janice Ora's flowers. That's the thing that sticks out in my mind most, being so embarrassed that day. But of course, since that time, I've taught in this building. I was in the first class that was in the new building because we were in the third grade and there was no room for us in this building, and we were in a little, under Miss Ruby Callis, in a little red schoolhouse outside until Christmas, and then they moved us over into that building for the rest of that year. And then the next year, in 1924, the students were, the high school entered that building. But I've had many, many pleasant memories here, and I hate to see this building go, and that other one too.
Well, I think all of us do, and I think every one of us have memories, and I think just about everyone in here has children that has graduated from, that's gone through grammar school and high school also. You have children too, right?
Yes, I taught you and your children and your wife, and I went upstairs today to find the pictures of you all when you were in the 5th grade. Couldn't find them, but I found the grade book with all your grades on it. I thought you might like to see them today.
Let's just leave the grade book closed today.
Okay.
Especially with my kids around, you might see that. Okay. All right, and one of the, I guess, the young students that's in the class is Bruce Dillard White. Bruce, tell us some of the things that happened and when you began to school here in the Ridgely school system.
I started in 1938 to Miss Virginia Lewis, who's been spoken of, and I guess one of the highlights of my first grade was I got to sit next to Martha Jonas, and she had long ringlet curls down to her shoulders and cross eyes and great big glasses, and it was absolutely the belle of the first grade. And I got to sit by her, and this was Miss Mandy Cox's second grade room, and it was a very mysterious place for a first grader because all around the walls, in first place they had hardback books, and that looked uptown, up to date, and on the walls right around here they had the alphabet in cursive writing, and it looked just like Greek to me, and I was sure that I'd never be able to do it, and sure enough I hadn't.
I think, who was the principal when you were here?
The first principal that I really remember was Bill Roberts in the 3rd grade. I think Mr. Jack Brewer probably was here in the first, when I was in the 1st grade, I believe, but really Mr. Bill Roberts was the first one when I was in the 3rd grade that I can remember coming around and getting on me about something I did on the bus or something like that.
Yeah.
One other thing I just have to remember, something nobody's mentioned, but I just happened to think about we didn't have clocks in the room. There was a big clock out on the wall over Miss Kendall's place, which was a cafeteria. We had a private cafeteria in those days. Miss Kendall's hamburger place was right over there. I meant Miss Clinton. But anyway, the clock was right out there, and that was one of the big things when you got to where you could tell time a little bit. Well, the teacher would parcel it out to you, say Bruce or Mac or so. You really see what time it is, and boy, that just tickled you to death to get to go out and look out the door and kind of count up and see how it's the big hand, you know, everything, and tell what time it was.
Yeah. And Bruce, you played football here on the Ridgely High School. Could you tell us something about the year that you played in high school, or the years that you might have played?
They were mostly long and losing and in real bad shape, and we finally got to win a few, and I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, another thing too, and I didn't really ask some of the other ones. Did you court your wife here when you were going to school here?
I started dating my wife when she didn't go to school here. She went to Tiptonville, and I started dating her when I was a junior in high school, I believe.
Okay, that was kind of an interest to me on some of them. I guess some of them would have that privilege of doing that. Okay, thank you, Bruce. All right, and another gentleman we have with us, his wife taught him. No, she didn't teach him. I think she said she'd like to. Mr. J.W. Beardsley. Mr. J.W., tell us some of the things that happened to you while you were here in school.
My first experience in the building we're in now was in a Tom Thumb's wedding. Tom Helen was the one to get married, and I can't remember the girl. That was upstairs while this was a high school and grammar school building. I started 1st grade in 21 to Miss Mattie D. Cox, and I made the rounds in this building every year. I was privileged to pass every year. And one of the highlights of our grade in the 7th grade was Ms. West was the 7th grade teacher. When Mr. McCain would come to our room, Tom Helen and I were always picked to go to the board. Why, I don't know. But he gave us a problem. And when he did, Tom and I would usually work it. It was mostly arithmetic. I was lucky there. And anything else you want to know about this building?
Yeah, can you maybe tell us something about the building? Do you know very much as far as when some of the things that did occur, some of the changes that might have occurred?
Well, we had a lady named Miss Rosie Dyer that taught in high school when I was entering 1st grade. And I'll never forget that lady. She was real nice. And she went on to married and taught in Union University at Jackson.
What year was it that you graduated from Ridgely High School, and what were some of were the buildings basically like they are right now?
I graduated in 1934. The buildings are like they are now. But we had in our high school, when I first started in high school, 75 freshmen, the largest class that ever had in high school. And when we graduated, we had 36 of those 75 to graduate, the largest class this school has had to graduate.
Oh, that was the largest class then. I guess probably the largest that even has graduated from here was 36.
Right, correct.
Okay, that was pretty good in 1934 to get that many graduates.
We still have our class reunion every 3 years. We have 26 left of that 36 now. And our athletic department, I was privileged to be Tiptonville 3 years straight.
Well, that's saying something too. Okay, and as we move on, one of the next gentlemen is Mr. Mac Forster. Mac, because I know you went all the way through this school system from even your mother all the way up, but could you give us something about your school history here?
Kerry, I started school in this building in 1939 in the first grade, and Miss Virginia Lewis was my first grade teacher. Miss Maddie D. Cox taught the second grade in this particular room that we're in now. The third grade was Miss Eloise Hickman, and I never will forget a funny incident that happened when I was in the third grade. Maybe I was a pet of Miss Eloise, I don't know. But I got into a little problem, and she carried me out to the cloakroom to spank me. And rather than spanking me, though, she took the paddle and hit the book satchels that were hanging out there. And, of course, that made the class think that she was spanking me. But I never will forget that. And then the fourth grade was Miss Ruby Callis, and the fifth grade was Miss Glidewell. The sixth grade was Miss Mary Jane House. The seventh was Miss Ocie Robinson, and the eighth grade was Miss Lara Kendall, all in this particular building. And I have a lot of fond memories, but especially it surrounds those fine ladies that were teachers back in those days.
You know, I think seeing the group that's in here and seeing some of the results of some of the teaching, you can't really say too much about the teaching that we did have when we were growing up.
Right, that's exactly right.
All right, as we move on, we get one of the other teachers that I'm sure she's got some description of her teaching background and some of the things in the teaching system here in Ridgely, Miss Pauline Bargery. And Miss Pauline, I think, has taught everybody in Lake County, I believe, just about. But give us a description of your schooling and your teaching career here in Ridgely.
I didn't go to school in Ridgely. I finished up Tiptonville in 1926. And in 1928, I started teaching at Hathaway. There were 14 rural schools and the 2 city schools, Ridgely and Tiptonville. And then in 1945, I was moved here when Miss Ruby Callis got married and left the 4th grade. Then they moved me to 4th grade here in the room opposite of this one. And as you say, I think I have taught the 3rd generation. And, of course, I teaching at Hathaway. I taught 16 years in Hathaway, and I've taught in every rural school in Lake County, from Bissey, Bend to Hathaway or Reelfoot, wherever the last one down there, I think, was Hathaway. But I have enjoyed the 44 years that I taught here, and the one thing that I want to remember, that the Lord has been good to me and let me see the results that some of my students that went to school to me in the 4th grade are some that I have hoped that I have helped form some of their lives, and the progress that they have made and the people, the citizens that they have made. Even some that I thought that I would never teach how to add 2 and 2 have amounted to something and have made something of themselves, not because they went to me, but because they went to Lake County schools.
That adding 2 and 2, I guess you probably include me in that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I know of some that you thought you would. You just never know what they're going to turn out to be. But all my students, all that I have some doctors and lawyers and preachers and people, students that have really gone out in great fields, and all of them have made progress, and I'm glad that the Lord let me live to see them progress in this way.
Miss Pauline, how long did you teach the 4th grade? Because I know that it was quite some time.
I taught 16 years down at Hathaway, and then since 45 till 19, when I retired in 1974, I taught 4th grade here.
And still did a little bit of substitute teaching after you retired?
In high school, I taught high school, did a lot of substituting in high school until about, I guess, 5 years ago.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Pauline. And is there any of you in this classroom that might have some extra input, since we've gone around, that might put a little light on the subject? All right, Mr. Goer.
I'd like to tell you about some of the early principals right after World War I. Mr. Wade Alexander, the brother of Dr. Alexander, was principal for about 2 years. Then Mr. Simpson came here, and he was here until Mr. Jim West came here. And then, of course, they changed times after that, but that's some of the early ones that were.
Some of those were a little bit before my time that I can remember, but I guess everybody in here just back can remember the biggest majority of those fine people that were part of the Lake County school system.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just hold up. Just Miss Georgie got something too.
I want to tell you about this Miss Rosa Dyer that somebody mentioned. Well, anyhow, when we came in, it was her duty. And boy, she had, when you memorized a rule from her, you said thee. You didn't, if the rule said thee, you said thee. You didn't say a. But we all came in the door, and she was standing outdoors, snapping her fingers, saying, left, right, you missed a step. Left, right, you missed a step. Left, right. And she would do that until everybody came in. And we were up the stairs, and I mean there was no foolishness. You got up those stairs because you were afraid of Miss Rosa. And another thing, when we first started here in 1912, we didn't have any nice bathrooms. We had to use the John, and we went clean to the fence out yonder. And I tell you, sometimes by the time that you could get that teacher to let you go, and by the time you walked out that far, sometimes it like been too late, I tell you, because those were the times. And then, and the other, we had the restrooms down in the basement of the other building. We just had a hard time with these Johns around here.
Well, Miss Georgia, I remember a boy that one time that was in one of my grades that in one of the modern schools that he did the same thing to. He didn't make it either. That wasn't me, though.
I was thinking maybe you was thinking it was I that wouldn't let you go.
I was.
Me sometimes I didn't let them go quick enough, but I didn't know it. They didn't tell me they were in a hurry.
It was Miss Pauline. All right, I believe Mr. J.W. had something he wanted to input on the school system.
On April Fool's Day, when Jim West saw you leaving the campus, he'd give us a thrill whistle and wave his hand that way to go on. He didn't want you to come back. He meant for you to go, but he knew you was leaving. And no punishment was performed.
Oh, me, I hope some of the kids don't hear that today.
That's what happened back then.
All right, does anyone else have something? All right, Miss Winnie Mooney Hood would like to say something.
I'd like to tell you a little bit more about this building. When I started in the first grade here, the elementary grades were downstairs. Upstairs, there was an auditorium, a stage, a home ec class, a home ec room, and in the home ec room they had a little library, just a few shelves. And the high school classes were upstairs. And one thing that stands out in my memory about coming to school, see, we lived out in the country and you had to walk to school. So in the wintertime, my father had an old surrey and he put curtains on it. And we drove an old mule to school. Of course, everyone in town wanted to ride in the surrey. So we would drive to school in the surrey. And if the weather was too bad, we walked to school. And as Miss Georgia said, the restrooms were outside and we didn't have a cafeteria. And years later, they did have a little lunchroom in this building where the boys' restroom was. And then years later, it was moved across the hall, in that building. But this was the only building on the campus. Then they built the high school building. And I graduated from the 8th grade there. But the Larry Kendall building wasn't built until later. And then, of course, it was named for Miss Larry Kendall in her memory. And I had the opportunity to participate in the program for that. And the gymnasium was downtown. It was an old tin building. And you had programs down there like the Maypole program and that sort of thing. And if you played ball up here, they had outdoor courts for you to play basketball. And I suppose the worst thing that ever happened to me, we'll go back to Miss Rosa Dyer again. I was in the first grade, and we lived in the country, and we had to come to school early, so my daddy dropped me off, and I was afraid. And Miss Rosa came to school early, and she found me crying, and the more she talked to me, the more I cried. So the only paddling that I ever got at school was from Miss Rosa Dyer for crying. And as far as discipline, I suppose that Mr. Brewer had the answer to that. If two boys had a fight, you put them in a ring and let them fight it out, and then you paddled them both. And in his classroom, if you misbehaved and he came in and the spitballs were flying, he would say, "Who did that?" And there was no answer, so he lined you up and he started down the road. "Did you do that, Winnie?" "No." "Did you do that?" "No." And the last person on the end of the row would be Ernest Brasher. And he'd say, "Well, Mr. Brewer, since I'm the only one left, I suppose I did." So I remember that about Mr. Brewer.
Oh, me, that's some fond memories, I'm sure, that's really been in the school system here. But, you know, I'd like for us to do one thing while we have all the students here. You know, Miss Georgie, one of the things that I remember is some of the spelling contests. You know, you always said, you know, the students to stand up and spell some word and all. What I'd like for you to do is maybe call out a word, and let's have someone in the class here. Now, we've talked about some of the students that we've graduated from Ridgely High School, and it's gone through this building in the past, but how much they've turned out. But, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on spelling when we're in school. And so I'd like for you to just call out a word, and let's get someone to spell that word and see how we're going to come out.
All right, here's one that's hard for me, is minimum. Mac, spell minimum.
M-I-N-I-M-U-M. Thank you.
All right.
The way the thing went, now, when she asked Mac that, now Mac paused a little bit. Now, there'd be people popping their fingers just like this. All that. I know, Miss Georgia, I know.
All right, call on another student right quick.
Required, Dorothy.
Required. R-E-Q-U-I-R-E-D.
All right, so we've had 2 words called out, and both students have done a good job here in this classroom, and I'm certainly proud of that. At least we've learned something. All right, another one of the comments, Miss Agnes, I think she's got something she wants to input.
I just wanted to say that this was my alma mater, and I really hate to see it tore down, and I think everyone else does too.
I think so. All right, you've seen the classroom, one of the classrooms that we have, and that's just been one of the classrooms. And now we're going to go and show you some of the other classrooms and outside the building also. We brought the students outside so we could get an outside view of the school and some of the students, and kind of lined up the way that they were when they were in school. Most of the students, as we see, we're out in the kind of in sunlight now. As you can see the steps of the door in the background. That's where you normally lined up to go inside the school when the bell rang. Before this was the original playground. I spent some time here myself, along with most everybody that's in the picture that we've talked to this morning, and the several memories that have taken place here. I'm sure that each one would cherish for quite some time. There was a lot of teachers that hadn't been mentioned here that really deserves a lot of credit, and I guess one of the ones that I really had a lot of memories was Miss Lara Kendall, who taught here in this building for quite some time, along with Miss Ruth Forster and Miss Leah Willingham. There were several that was been too many to remember. All right, as we enter the 2-story building once again, we'll go down the hallway and visit some more of the classrooms.
Oh, man. What are you doing?
This is one of the classrooms that we had several years ago, and you see some of the features have changed. The teacher, for one, has changed, but one of the teachers is hard at it right now. And the blackboard, I guess, is probably one of the original blackboards, and some of the fixtures you see still the same as what it was when you and I were here in school. As we go up the stairs to the upstairs building, which a lot of memories were there, and they talked about the upstage. There was a lot of children, I know when I was in school, that kind of got just a little bit of a licking or a good talking to concerning these stairways, because there's one thing you did not do is ride down the side of it and run up and down these stairs. As the stairs come up, and then we wound up back up another section of stairs, and then we have some more classrooms up this part of the building too. All right, some of the things, the buildings have changed some since we were going to school here, or when it first began. Miss Beth, give us a brief description of this part a long time ago.
All right, when we came up the stairs, there were 2 classrooms, one on the north and one on the south. The rest of this upper story was an auditorium with the stage on the north side and the auditorium on the south.
Okay, and when I was in school, this was a typing class, and this was the history class, I believe it was, and Miss Mary Jane House always stayed right in here. This was her favorite room in here, and I remember quite vividly, you know, her being a teacher up here so many years.
By the time I was in the 8th grade, the high school had been moved. Well, in fact, when I was in the 3rd grade, the high school was moved to the new building over there, and then this was, the upper story was the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. The auditorium was torn out. That was made into 2 rooms, which would take care of 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th were in the 4 rooms downstairs. For a long, long time, this was just the elementary school building.
Mm-hmm.
That was from about 1923, I believe. I was in the 1st class in the high school building because I was only the 3rd grader, but they didn't have room for us in this building, so then they put Miss Ruby's 3rd grade over in what has been the 1-story high school building, and we were there from Christmas till the end of that term. And then in, I believe it was 1924, the high school moved into the new high school building, and from that time on, this was grades 1 through 8.
Okay. This is another one of the rooms. This used to be, when I was in school here, was a typing room. You can see as some of the preparations are being made to move some of the desks and some of the students out of here into the new facilities. But there's a lot of fond memories here, and this is one of the rooms that Miss Beth was describing as a stage at one time, I believe, or the upstairs stage.
This was the auditorium, and the stage was at the north end of the building with the dressing rooms on either side.
Okay. Some of the fondest memories go on in this room in here, and I tell you, Miss Beth could really demonstrate.
You remember, I told you not to talk.
This is one of the fondest things that I remember about this room in here. A lot of things took place. This room used to be a 7th grade class. Also, it was a science room. For the ones that were in school when I was there, this is where the science class was, and right today, of course, it's for the 6th grade, but it's still a science class. And you see some of the things that take place in here, and I'm sure there's a lot of fond memories still awaiting for each one of you. These steps have been here for quite some time, and I can't really estimate how many times that I myself, along with several other people here in Ridgely and Lake County, has walked up and down these steps. Oh, and by the way, I wasn't running down the steps, and I see one of the teachers is coming down. This person has walked up and down this step for quite some time. Miss Winnie, I'm sure that some memories really go back a long way with you right here on these stairways.
Quite a few. Not only in walking up and down the steps myself, but when you had to supervise the students going up and down, they were not allowed to make a great deal of noise. And some of the teachers I remember who were teaching here at that time we had Miss Russie Markham, Mrs. Jim West, Mr. Smiley Keaton, and Mrs. Eula Scatterday. I expect that Miss Eula is probably the oldest teacher living who taught in the high school at that time. And she is still living. She lives at Chesterfield, Tennessee. And it would have been nice if we could have had her here today for this interview.
Sure would have. All right, as we walk down the hall out of the 2-story building, we'll be going over to the auditorium, the old high school building. And as we walk along, look at Fred. Fred Workman. Fred, you better slow down now. You know you're not supposed to be running in the halls. We got one of the students that went to school here. Fred, what years did you go to school here in this building or here at Ridgely?
Well, I went through the 10th grade, which was in '63. I started in 53 or 54.
All right, I've asked some of the older people that we interviewed before, you know, some of the things that happened, some of the meanness and all that, because I know that you didn't have any meanness that you participated in.
I mainly studied while I was in school.
I'm sure of that. I know that you studied quite a bit, but I know there's some things. Give us an example of some of the things that you might have done here, some of the, you know, fonder memories that you might have here in Ridgely School.
Well, I can remember the banisters here in the two-story building. I used to slide down them when school was out or we was going to eat at the cafeteria, and invariably I'd get a whooping every day for sliding down them banisters. So much has happened in this building. I hate to see it tore down, but you got to make room for progress, I guess.
That's right. A lot of fond memories have been here in the Ridgely School System. Two-story building along with the high school building that we're going to now.
Right. It sure was. It sure was.
Okay, we're going to the high school building now.
See you.
This will be a shot of the two-story building going out toward the high school building. As you can see, some of the things. And the old fire escape stairway there was lots and lots of students that got in trouble on that because you was not supposed to come out the fire escape. And when you came out the fire escape, then you got in trouble. And this is the back of the high school building. It comes out from the stage up there between the two doors. And this is one of the poses that was always seen just about every day, especially right after lunch, the poses that was here. The only thing about it, there's two ladies there, and before it's always a boy and a girl.
This is one of the most popular places in the school. This was the auditorium with the stage, and this is where a lot of lovebirds would form and sit and talk with each other and play with their hands. Uh-oh. Look like we got a couple right now. Yes, I believe we have.
This is one of the pictures of the 1959 graduating class here in Ridgely High School, and one of the sponsor on this is Miss Winnie, I believe. Aren't you one of the sponsors, Miss Winnie and Miss Mary Jane House?
This is the graduating class of 1954, and Mr. Tom Johnson was my associate sponsor, and that picture was made at the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans on the class trip.
There's a lot of fond memories in here, Miss Winnie, that concerning the stage and the stage area that I'm sure that a lot of people will continue to remember.
Yes, I'm sorry to see them tear this building down. I've spent many hours coaching plays and conducting graduating exercises from this auditorium.
At one time, this was they were desks here rather than folding seats.
Well, at one time, this was also the study hall and the library. The library was in the back part of the building, and this was study hall and auditorium.
All right, as we're going back to the stage area and let you get a good view of that area too. And I know the back behind the stage is a lot of writing on walls and things of that nature that kids did very often.
Well, I think maybe the thing we had the most trouble with would be the courting couples. The boyfriends would like to come up here and see the girls practicing, and so we always had a problem with that. But all in all, I enjoyed it, and I like to feel that I have contributed something to the former students, and so many of these boys and girls in these classes have made doctors, lawyers, teachers, and many other careers.
Okay, as you get a panoramic view of some of the lockers and some of the other areas there, and some of the new students and some of the old students, some of the new teachers and some of the old teachers. We're backstage here where a lot of things happen back here, and these walls that you see is a lot of history as far as Lake County is concerned. A lot of names that was on there that's been put on there for quite some time. There's Billy Helton, Jerry Lee, and Margie Patterson. Along here is Marsha and Jimmy Carter. Several names that dates on back. Billy Davis, I see his name on here, Billy Sharp. Several people that a lot of people remember that were back here at one time or the other, and this could be history, really, by saving these walls behind stage. This is another area that really is history as far as the Ridgely school system, the lockers that we had here. a lot of things went on at the lockers where a lot of boys and girls met when they were having their little dating points. So this is really the history of the lockers that were used back a long time ago, and the lockers are still being used today. This would be one of the things that would be destroyed here in the this auditorium.
Pauline Barber's on one of these. Let me show you your Tipton book principles on this one.
Tommy Ray? Well, I'll be, isn't that something?
Some of the old pictures and things that we're going through right now, Miss Mooney and Mr. Todd's going through some of the old things. I think you found some real old.
Ray Lovell.
One of my former
principal
students.
At Margaret Newton. This is his picture right there. I know you can't see that.
Lots and lots. Did he go to school, or you taught him at Tiptonville?
No, I
you
taught him
here?
here. He went to school here at that time. That was third grade class.
Third grade class. A lot of pictures and a lot of memories that were here. As we can see right here, Ridgely High School class of 1959. Several things that happened. Several teachers have been changed and several administrators have been changed. And right now we have with us the principal that is here with us now, Mr. Todd. Mr. Todd.
Principals get younger and younger.
They really do, because I remember, of course, they're not any stronger, I don't think, as far as swinging the boards today as what they were. But
they're quite as hard on the students as they were back when I attended here.
Mr. Todd might have something to say about that. But Mr. Todd, I know as we're going through here and seeing some of the things that the old school that happened, I'm no longer than you've been here. I'm sure that there's a lot of memories here that's really would be in the back of your mind.
Well, anytime you have a building this old, you're bound to have an awful lot of traditions. There's some very strong sentiments about losing the building. I realize that, and of course I have some sentiments myself about losing it. They don't build them like they used to, I guess would be one way to put it. That may be fortunate in some respects and unfortunate in others. Of course, we were talking with some of the retired teachers a few moments ago how much we hated to lose the auditorium especially, and it's still serviceable, and it's served us well, you know, in trying to work with the students. We do are hoping to compensate for the fact that we're losing the auditorium by having a cafetorium, but there again, that has some disadvantages that we all realize. But to answer your question more simply, yes, there's sentiment for me too in losing this building, but of course we do need to progress, and we do need to improve, and we feel like getting the new building is a definite improvement for us.
The memories of the hallways here in the high school building, this being the old trophy case, which the trophies were moved out quite some time ago. And as you go down the hall, the first room that we're going to go in and take a look at, as you've seen many times, is the Latin room, or Miss Golden's room, or Miss Beth Beers' room. As you see along the hallway up the top there is where the old graduating pictures used to be several years ago, or up until just very recently, which they're down at the Ridgely Library at this time. We're going to the Miss Golden's room. This room being occupied by some students now, which is the room now. I guess this your room, Mr. Berry? And what subjects you in? This English?
7th grade grammar.
7th grade grammar now, which used to be one of the Latin class of several years ago. Miss Golden, as said, and Miss Beth Beersley were teachers in this room for quite some time. The teacher in here now that's teaching this class is Mr. Barry Barger. And Mr. Barry, you went to school here in this school too, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Miss Goldine Taylor taught me in this room, taught me history.
Oh, so there's a lot of memories on your part in here.
Plenty, yes.
You know, this schoolroom has, I said, a lot of fond memories, and used to, a long time ago, students would sleep in this class, but I doubt very seriously if they do that anymore. They probably stay awake. Well, there's one student that's still asleep. Another one of the rooms we have that was on the right inside the hallway as we come down it. This used to be the history class, Miss Ruth Forster, and she taught some English too. And then we see one of the teachers still hard-headed here, and also she was one of the teachers that, one of the students that was at Ridgely School at one time or the other, Miss Mary Alice Chadwick. Miss Mary Alice, give us a little bit of brief description of your days here at Ridgely.
Well, all I can say is I really enjoyed my school days here, and I will be sorry to see the buildings torn down, even if we do get a new school building.
You know, I've asked several students, when did you go to school here?
I graduated from here in 1941.
In 1941, and I've asked some of the other teachers also, you know, what, when they were students here, some of the memories that they've had, some of the things that they might have gotten into. Give us, you know, maybe a little description of some of the things that you did or some of the students did when you were at school.
Well, I can't really think of anything right now. I really wouldn't want to say anything bad that I did with all these children watching me. And I don't think I really did anything bad. This room that I am in, I had history in it in high school. Although the room was like 1/2 as big as it is right now. And Miss Beth Beardsley taught me in this room before she was married. And some of my classmates that are teaching here are Miss Frances Holland and Miss Patsy House. We were all in the same class.
In other words, there are some of the teachers that are teaching here in the school system.
That's right.
Hello, we're getting ready for a historical event here. As you can see in the background, the crowd has begun to gather. They're fixing to tear our schoolhouse down. And to date is June the 3rd, 1982. And they're making room for our new school. And we have a crowd that's beginning to gather here, and at exactly 1 o'clock, the dozer is supposed to move up against our building and push our building down. I'm Coy Leake. I have someone here with me I want to say a few words to. Carl. This is Carl Connell, and she says she used to go to school here. Carl, this school that they're going to tear down now, has it got any memories for you?
Yes, Coy, it has a lot of memories. Good times we had there. I graduated here in 1937, but one of the fun times that I can remember was 1935. I was elected Miss Ridgely, and the audience was so quiet when they announced who was the winner, and my father was in the audience. And out loud he just hollered to the boy that I was dating at that time, said, "Son, her mother looked like that 25 years ago." He was a very proud father that night. That's one of my fondest memories.
Okay, now the stage that has been saved out of this auditorium, that's the stage you graduated on,
That's right? That's right.
We have just saved the stage out of the auditorium and going to try to use it a little bit later on, maybe in a civic center or just whatever we can come up with. Thank you.
That would be great. I hope they do.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
We have some other ladies we'd like to ask a couple of questions here. This day, a day of memory or a day of regret, I guess you might say, in some of us' mind. And Miss Carl, I think, stated a moment ago that she was one of the first graduating class in this building, right?
No, No, I wasn't one of the first, but I graduated in the building in 37. I started school in this building, or the old two-story building, and graduated in the other building and went all the way through. But some of the remembering things, Georgia and I were talking. The year she graduated in this old building, I started to school the same year, 1924.
Okay, and I think Miss Georgia has something to say about the two-story building here, Miss Georgia, about your graduating.
I started school here in 1924, graduated, in 1912, graduated in 1924, and we were the last class to graduate in the old building, and there were 13 of us, and I want to recall the two boys. We only had two boys in our class, and that was Ewan Dunlap and Jordan Featherston.
And what year was that, Miss Georgia?
1924.
1924, memories from way on back.
You done told him, well.
No, you haven't either.
Oh. He knows what he did.
See what? All right, I'm going to ask you about another one of the spectators that's watching history be made, I guess you might say, is Mr. Yates. Mr. Yates, I believe you went to school here in either one of the two buildings.
Yes, I went to school in both of them.
And both of them. Did you graduate in the high school building, what we call the high school building now?
No, I was 11 years old. I was the first children that went to school in that building. I was in that class.
Oh, is that right? In the two-story building or the high school building over there?
They were so crowded here. They had shacks, you know, and they got this one room finished over there. And I was the class that went in that and finished up the school year while they finished the rest of the building.
Oh, could you tell me something that you remember really distinctly when you was in school here? What something might have happened to you or happened to someone around you while you were in school?
Oh, nothing much I can think of.
Didn't get into any meanings or anything, I don't guess.
Well, I got my amount of the spankings from Ruby Callis and Larry Kendall.
I think we all got that part of it. That's another comment from another person that's interested person here concerning our school. Another interested party here is Miss Ernestine Miller. Miss Ernestine, I know that there's a lot of fond memories that you have concerning this school.
There is. Former pupils and classmates and teachers. It's really a sad time.
Well, I know it. It's been quite some time. A lot of things has happened since the school was actually built. What years was it that you went to school here?
I finished in 1931.
1931. Mm-hmm. What are some of the memories that you can think of, outstanding memories you might have had here?
Well, the class plays and programs and the things that the stage was used for, Miss Gladys Walker and Mrs. Martha Stevens teaching music and having their piano recitals, and then all the older teachers that were there in our day, and all loved.
You always remember that.
Yeah.
So I know that.
I'm for progress now. I'm not for that, but it's just always, you hate to see anything that you've loved all your life go.
That's right. It's always special memories that we have.
Right.
That's right. Miss Pauline, I know that as we did some taping the other day, some of the comments that you made, you're out here today as an interested party in what's taking place. Can you recall some other things and that might have happened that we didn't really mention the other day that really is outstanding here concerning this school, both the high school with the old high school building and the two-story building?
Well, I can just say that it's a landmark, one of our landmarks of Ridgely is now going out in both schools because they were both the high schools and both the grammar school and the high school. That was over there, and this was grammar school. Of course, there were high schools. This one's high school too, at one time. But there was some wonderful students that have gone through here, and my participation in the part that I played in teaching here and substituting, as I did in high school and teaching in both of these schools, and then the other Larry Kendall School too, was a pleasure to me. And I'm sure that the people of Ridgely will be sorrowful. I mean, I know they're sorry to see this one go down, but they will be glad of the new one, and we are too.
Well, I think everybody is.
I think everybody, the old buildings were just dilapidated, so we hate to see them go. But they were so dilapidated that I think that our children needed that. We needed it in our town, and I think that people will enjoy them.
I think so too. It's just, it may sound repetitious on what we're saying as far as the sadness that we have, but it's like a part of each one of us has gone out when you see something like that go.
We've got to keep up with the times, and everything changes, and we got to change with them.
That's true, and that's a comment from one of the older teachers and students here. And I think that we all should feel the same way. And not stand in the way of progress. Keep going, even though we know that it's saddened.
That's right.
JW is a spectator here. You've got some memories of this school building being torn down.
I sure have. You know, that's enough to bring tears to your eyes. But on the other hand, you look on the other side and look at that nice new building that this little one's going to get to school, or go to school to, and it makes you feel a whole lot better.
That's certainly true. Aubrey?
What?
Did you get some memories of this school?
Oh, yeah. A lot of them. I've never been to school up here, but I've been up here to a lot of different occasions. My wife finished up here.
Yeah, I knew your wife did. Then you had some children also to finish.
I will tell you one thing. That particular building there, we've only been to it, as far as I know, as far as fire record's concerned, one time. Since 1946, since 1936. I've been on the fire department since 1936.
One time, what was that reason?
The only thing that we could find is somebody had set paper basket afire.
That has something to say about the building itself right there, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, shoot. I got somebody with me now that's going to be a part of tearing the building down. Aubrey Leak. Aubrey, what are you really planning on doing? What are you going to try to do as far as this building is concerned?
Well, just tear it down and just tear it down and keep them damaged into the new building over there is what we're trying to do.
What are you going to do, take the cat and just start pushing?
Yeah, we're going to take the dozer and start pushing the walls, and then we'll pull the top off.
What's the name of the contractor that's doing this?
Clifton Excavating in Dyersburg.
Okay, we're going to watch very anxiously.
All right, if y'all ready, we are.
There it goes. You see the cat pushing in the side of the old high school building. For some of you don't know, that's the old history classroom that he's working on right now on the west side of the hall.
Look, got red hat roots and papoon.
Corey done missed the best part.
What are you doing, Jason?
The best part was a while ago when that thing was sky high.
Yeah.
That roof was burning.
It still fell in, part of it. Now, I can't take half this crap. I'm gonna look. Man, they should have their parents.
Start cranking.
I was going to get when they took it down, but I can't get it down.
That wall's already falling out over there.
They got bonfire jumps. Just a microphone.
They're worried about these other buildings. Johnny said that he and that just right.
Stay up there. Here they come, bub. Here they come, boys. I don't see no. That's a piece of glass. Oh boy, they getting it now. That's what they did for Charles Dick. Change it. That red looks real bad. Change it, change it. But it reads. I know, they couldn't go. You tell me that part. But that's boom. See where the smoke's coming out?
What is it?
It gets right now.
Already got Tiptonville. Jimmy right there. There's Jimmy there. You know, Tiptonville tires. There goes the newspaper.
I see the green yellow for first one to finish. You ought to hear that. Oh, man, I got the side strip. It's fair. It caved in over there. Oh, man, it started just one wall now. Just one wall.
Which Larry King you like best? This one or that other one? The $4 million bill. I like the $4 million still better than that. Just hold this for a little bit.
Yes,
No, you run off with it.
There she goes.
All right. Look at this one. Look at this. See, I was way over there. About 6 feet away from the hell I was. I took things over there.
Backstage, you see that? No, back man, it's on.
You be down on the whole thing now. It takes time to
So we're going to look at what do you think?
Cigarette room and the wood carver on the building. That'll work about to fall over now. That's a boy. You didn't get the ball. What? Set that thing over the door. Still had it. Yeah, take it off. Look at that. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm going to that. Isn't he right now? Take your hands on the store.
Our lumber's still good, all right.
You never win.
That's going to be ball, too. That's one sticking up in the window back there.
Jason, I bet you now baby's going to make the whole building fall through. Why, you idiot? Pop up. Well, she's spraying it. She ain't no top of the house. I said she's spraying it. You know, she's spraying a carport. She got that carport. We better get out of the way. That's right. I'll tell him I'm with you. I'll tell him I'm your cousin and I'm with you. Well, I am your cousin. Come here. Close enough to jump in that building. Close enough to jump. There it went. Where? Lord, fella. Jason! Man, they better be watching that chimney. Around that chimney. They got that chimney timed up. I believe that's gonna work. Yeah, but balls. No, when it falls, it's gone. When it falls, I'm gone. Jason. Hey, Patricia. Like fall on that thing right there. Fall on that building. Look at that. Look at that. Anybody want free drink? Look at that little house burning. Yeah. Doghouse. Walk up that stairway. Quit on that door. Going in on now? What? That little house fixed to cave in now. They got that cigarette. That's probably what it was. Yeah, little house cracking games. Ding, 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 ding. They probably took them loggers out. What? Oh, that away, knocked that building down. She just failed it. Jason, what's your school? Look at the inside of it. Look at the walls. They really made a mess out of our house. Look at that little thing. Look at that up again. We ain't got nothing to fall back on. Jason, it burned half the city. We take the wall.
Hello, Captain. Hey, Captain. How's everything going?
Look at that right there. Doggone building. Take a Woody's picture. Dangerous, isn't it? That two-story one.
Hey, Woody.
Hey, looks like that chimney ain't gonna fall. Yeah. Look around here, Joe. Come on, get the bike.
Well, there you have it, from 1909 to 1982 in July. Our two-story school building here in Ridgely. Now, this was our first school building in Ridgely, and it's got a lot of fond memories gone with it. The fire was not to be. It was an accident. I understand that the boys was up on top of the roof tearing it off, getting ready to be tore down, and some sparks came from the ash trash can and caught it on fire and burned it down. But the way that it was supposed to be, they're supposed to take a bulldozer and push it down just like they pushed the other one down. But the fire is the way it went. The only good thing about the fire and the school being gone is we have a brand new school, and we're all proud of that, but we all hated to see the two-story building go. It had so many fond memories. Thank you. I'm Coy Leak. This is 1982, July.
Large is much less the case.